Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at number 4. Now number 4 is having us solve algebraically what we just did in number 3. So on number 3 we graphed the two equations to figure out where they crossed. But the problem with graphing is, what if I don't have graph paper? And even with graph paper, I think as we saw in that last one, it can be really easy to make a mistake as far as you count wrong on the lines or something like that. So we want a way of figuring out where they cross. We want a way of figuring out when is Jordana going to catch up with Jesus without actually having to do the graphing part of it. So again, we're taking the answer that we got for number 1, the equation we got for Jesus off number 1, which is y equals 25x plus 500. And then we're taking the equation for Jordana that we got off number 2, which was y equals 50x plus 100. Don't be late. And then, on that last one, what we did is that we graphed the two to see where they cross. And we did it with graph paper. I was just going to show you real quick. If we had a graphing calculator, we could also do the same thing with graphing. Obviously, this is a little bit easier. If you have a graphing calculator, then you could just plug the numbers in and then see where the two things cross. So we'll do 50x plus 100. Now you may or may not, as you're watching this, you may or may not have a graphing calculator with you. If you do, follow along with me. If not, then that's okay too. You notice that when you graph it, we quite don't have a perfect picture here yet. Remember, we have to change the zoom on this, so we have to go to zoom and then 0 for zoom fit, and then we get a better idea of where those two lines are going to cross. And we just barely don't see where they cross. Looks like they're going to cross somewhere up there. So I just need to zoom out a little bit more. So I'm just going to go to zoom out and then hit enter. And then we get a better picture of where those two things cross. So I can have the calculator tell me where the two things intersect. I can go to second trace, and then what I'm looking for is the intersection. So that would be number 5. It says a question mark. So basically just hit enter until the question marks go away. And then we get 16,900, which if you look above you, that's what we got by graphing. 16 months to catch up, and at that point it would be $900. Well, okay, so above you on number 3, we did that by hand. Here I showed you how to do that with a calculator. So with number 4, what we're saying is that, well, what if you don't have either one of those things? Well, there's a way to solve it by hand. So look at this method that we're going to use on this one. It's called substitution. Substitution means to replace, right? So if you think about like in sports, substitution, someone subs in the game, somebody's going in the game, someone's coming out of the game. So that's kind of the idea of what we're going to do here. We're going to take our two equations, y equals 25x plus 500 and y equals 50x plus 100, and we're going to substitute it. We're going to replace. And so what that looks like is that I'm going to take the first equation, 25x plus 550, and replace it into the second equation. The reason why I'm putting it there is because this says y equals 25x plus 500. Well, if that's what y is equal to, then that means that I could replace it with that y that's right there. So I would have 25x plus 500 equals 50x plus 100. Maybe another way to think of it is that we're taking two equations and combining them into one, because we can only solve one equation at a time. So we're just putting everything down into one equation. Alright, so I just want to get all my variables together on the same side. It doesn't matter which x I move. So I'll move this 25x over here with the 50. And then so I get 500 equals 25x plus 100. And again, we're just solving for x here. So let's subtract 100 from both sides. And then 500 minus 100 gives us 400. And then we just need to divide by 25. So when we divide by 25, we get x equals 16. And if you weren't sure about that, right, like we could have put that into a calculator. If we didn't do that mentally, we could just type that in. We could do 400 divided by 25. So, and it's not middle math class, so if anytime you're not sure about a calculation, just throw it in a calculator to make sure we get the right answer. Alright, so we got 16, which again, no surprise here. We've already shown above it number 3 that it would be 16 months. We've already shown it graphically here that it would be 16 months. So now we just want to verify the y. So to figure out the y, it doesn't matter which one you plug it back into. You just pick one of them. So, and I usually say, pick the one that looks easier. So, and in this one, I don't know, maybe there's not really even a difference. Maybe you look at it and think they're, both the same. So I would make some room for myself here. So I would just pick one. So let's say y equals 50x plus 100. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to substitute. Again, substitute means to replace. So 16 is going in the game for x. So x comes out of the game. Who goes into the game for him is 16. So I'm doing a replacement. So then we've got 50 times 16. So again, if we want to use a calculator on that, we can. So we can do 50 times 16. Right, which we get 800, and then 800 plus 100 equals 900. So our solution for this system would be 16, 900. And again, no surprises here. What we're doing is we're matching up on number 3. We made a picture. Number 4, we're doing the algebra. And so what we want to see and what we want to show is that the picture matches up with the math, and it does. 16, 900. All right, so go ahead and solve number 4 in the same way here by using substitution. All right, so let's check on you with number 4, see what you came up with. The two equations you were using there, y equals 100x plus 200, 50x plus 550, should have got an intersection of 7, 900. Again, no surprises, because that's what you got for number 3 above. Again, we just wanted to match those two things up. All right, so now let's get to the interpretation part, and that's what's in number 5.